that rules matter, right?
Yeah.
So, because, women are not just gonna, by sort of like naturally or organically, just, advance themselves. That doesn't happen. We don't live in societies where that happens.
Yeah.
So setting up rules, because in some other countries they're sort of, reticent to the ideas of quotas.
Yeah.
And but rules do matter, and the best example of that is probably Mexico. Setting up rules sometimes, it's ridiculous, the men themselves saying that they're being discriminated or whatever. I mean, rules do matter. And so long as we can, share this experience that actually shows that rules matter and that rules are important in, actually advancing women and, just being enough to guarantee that women can exercise their rights like anyone else, like any other man. And definitely rules do make a difference. This is, as you said, you very well stated, this was, just started 30 years ago, right? We just celebrated INE's 30th anniversary last year. So, I mean, this has been fairly recent, and it has been established as a very progressive electoral management body looking to basically guarantee the electoral and political rights of every citizen. And that includes definitely women. It's half the population, it's half of our voters registry. So in reality, what INE has very effectively done is materialize legislative advances that have been victories of feminist groups and women, taking up decision-making positions and pushing for legislative reforms. For instance, this rule that prohibits parties to send women to losing districts as candidates, as well. Well, the law only goes so far, right? The law only says, political parties can't send women to their losing districts. So what we have effectively done is develop methodologies and models that help us verify compliance and create systems that, can discourage or inhibit parties from not complying. So that has been basically our job, just, trying to materialize legislative reform and, putting it into action in a way that everyone is benefited, right? Or for instance, the latest reform on violence against women in politics, well, it established that political parties cannot discriminate women in the use of their resources and public funding, right? So, but the law only says that. So what, as well as in Mexico, political parties have access to direct and indirect public financing, meaning that they get access to, well, public funds, but also access to airtime in radio and television. And, all these resources are managed and overseen by INE. So what we have done very effectively is design and implement methodologies that will help us apply the law effectively to oversee compliance in a way that is fair to all players. Now, of course, another key element is these different mechanisms that actually discourage political parties from, not complying. So this is really a collective, work from, committed leadership, political parties that are integrated in the decision-making, legislative action, and, feminist groups and women legislators pushing for legislative action. So really, while in general, electoral commissions or electoral management bodies, and the conviction of their leadership have a decisive role in implementing changes that will favor women, really there is no substitute for legislative action. And that's a key element that, we cannot neglect. that really depends on the work of women's and feminist groups, civil society, networks of women legislators and activists, the media themselves, in the way they portray women in positions of power in politics, so they can be perceived as effective leaders. It really is a process that involves the work of so many people, and you know, it has been a good experience in Mexico so far. We have still a lot of work to do, and you know, that's in terms of the violence that women in politics face. You know, but in the end, what election commissions in general can do is, you know, build networks and communities of practice with civil society groups and feminist groups, certainly, you know, also with experts and academic institutions, and really build a community where all players are involved in the electoral process. And so that is key in creating, you know, and building trust required to implement all these changes that, you know, generally they generate so much resistance. And INE has been precisely that, a space where academic institutions, civil society come together. We have different academic forums taking place, discussions, public discussions, and that has been key, I believe, but nothing really replaces legislative action in the matter.